Hello everyone, welcome back for another book review. So today we are talking about this book. So this is from the Pagan Portals series. There are a number of books out there, and from what I can gather, I think they're all on different deities from what kind of like Amazon's recommended. I don't know if they have other things, but it's always recommended the deity ones for me. But this one is for the Morrigan, meeting the Great Queens, and I'm gonna mispronounce her last name, but it's Morrigan, like, I don't even know. Daimler? Butchering names. Good at that. So this is a pamphlet of a book. And I do have a handful of witchy books that are very, very, very small like this. But yeah, these are really great if you want to just get through a book really quick. But yeah, it's very, very, very small. So my overall thoughts for this book is that if you are a person wanting to know the myth and just a vague idea of who this deity is, this will give you an idea. That said, this is not the most easy to read book. Now, if you are used to scholarly reading and it feels like you're reading an essay, you'll be fine. But the majority of people are not in universities and used to reading just a lot of, you gotta prove your points and referencing different people all the time. You just wanna sit down and read. The first part, and a lot of other reviews have talked about this from what I've seen, it reads like an academic paper. Now for some people that's fine. You don't really mind that and it's whatever. I didn't love it. I never loved that type of writing. I prefer more of like the storytelling, and again, it's a fine line between information and like a blog post. But some people really want that like hard academic writing, and that's fine. I just am not one of those people. I get bored so easily. And it doesn't help that I don't know any of the backstory. I've read some of her myths here and there. I'm not big on mythology, personally, so the majority of this book didn't care about. It goes off of this assumption that you already kind of know these myths and you know the framework that it's existing within. And as a book that's really I don't know, I assume it's supposed to be aimed towards people who are new to this deity. It doesn't feel like it. It's referencing a bunch of different things that if you haven't read the myths, you have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't. I recognized a couple of them, but like, it's a weird language when you don't know it, and you're just like, that's a lot of fun letters just lumped together. Doesn't mean anything to me. And the author like will kind of explain it, but again, it's very much in the academic trying to prove your point way. And I don't like that writing style. I, in her words, am more of a neo-pagan. I'm more of like what about the here and the now. This really didn't have any much information on that topic at all. Towards the end of this itty bitty little teeny tiny book, there was a smidge on working with her in a semi-modern context. For example, there's talk of like the animals associated with her, which always had to reference back to the myths every time. Personally, I don't love that, but whatever. And then at the very, like towards the very end, she had this long talk about how she's listed as a dark goddess, and the author just goes on and on about how that's not like an appropriate thing and like people shouldn't be using that because it like makes like the lighter deities like lesser, and I don't think that's what people are really meaning when they say that you're working with a dark deity or a light deity. And she says that they're basically the same thing, that a light deity has dark aspects just like a dark deity has light aspects, which yes, but no. So I was trying to think of a good analogy for this, and the only one I could really think of is to take like a very strict person, such as like a boot camp trainer type person, or somebody who is in like law enforcement, like somebody who has to be very serious, very organized, they know how to handle crisis because they need to deal with it, and like they don't have the luxury of light and love and fluff and whatever because life or death. Like they have to be on guard, ready to go. And of course, when they're off the clock, they're gonna be a little more casual, but that still is gonna be a part of that person. You can't just flip a switch and just forget all of that part of you because that's a majority of your life. You're going to end up being a lot more intense of a person. And the comparison would be somebody who's like a daycare or like a preschool teacher. Very different clientele that you're going to be dealing with, right? Like, you're going to be more fun and like, oh, I'm so sorry you got hurt, like tell me about it. And you're trying to comfort and nurture. And of course, when you hang out, you're still going to kind of have that bubbly attitude, and you might catch yourself saying some things that you would normally say at work. And again, that kind of overall vibe is going to continue. And so to say those two people are going to be the exact same-ish out and about, like, no. To say that the Morrigan isn't a dark deity and that the lighter ones aren't going to give you really hard lessons, it's like, yes, but no. Working with like the goddess Isis, she's a lot more of that nurturing, caring, she'll take care of you energy, and the Morrigan, in my experience, has been more of the life happens, you're gonna need to deal with it. And it's not to say that she won't help you, but her methods are gonna be different. Same as if you needed help or advice from the two different career paths. Those people are gonna have very different routes of getting you that information. The deities are no different. And people who have gone through a lot of things may gravitate towards those darker deities because they feel like they're going to be understood better because you've gone through some stuff. And the lighter ones are gonna be, maybe you could still obviously work with them, but you might not feel as inclined because they don't represent what you're going through as well. The next thing that I didn't love in this book is she has issue with the working with thing that a lot of us use. Basically, she argues that you can't work with a deity, you basically must revere them and worship them, and that's it. Now, I've run across a few books who have kind of come around to this sort of idea, but basically the idea is that the gods get something out of us and we get something from them, and it is a partnership. The gods don't necessarily need us, we don't necessarily need the gods, but things tend to go better when you work together. And I don't like to say that I'm worshiping her because I'm not. I'm not sitting here groveling to a deity. Not my life. However, I will say I work with her because we work together on a thing. We have a task, whatever that is. Is it my entire life? Is it a specific spell or a thing that I'm trying to work towards? We're working together on that. Both of us are putting in effort. It's not that I'm sitting here petitioning endlessly to the gods and they're the only ones who can solve my problems. It's a partnership, it's a relationship, it's a two-way street, for me at least. But I didn't love this like kind of slight talking down attitude that she had about it, and that is something that I don't love. The Reconstructionist pagans tend to do this, and they're like, well, I don't do that, but, and then they have this exact attitude, and it's always seems to be the Reconstructionists. I don't love it, and I've never loved Reconstructionists anyways. Like, I don't love the idea of it, but I also don't love mythology for the exact same reason. It was still all made up by humans at some point. Like, myths were recorded by humans. Some human came up with the idea. Other ones agreed with it, might have added different things. But that's how myths came about, that's how deities came about. Somebody felt an energy and put a name to it, and then started adding details about it. Some human, eons ago. So this idea of like, you're trying to do what our ancestors did, and it's like, you know, the ancestors' lives sucked dick, right? Like, it was the worst. Like, it was not good for anybody involved, really. Because famine was huge, classism was worse than it already is right now, sexism was rampant, every little thing could kill you. Nobody had enough knowledge of like the world to know what would kill you and what wasn't, and what medicines would work and what wouldn't. Like, we're living in like probably the best time in history. Not to say that we don't have our own issues to contend with, but like this glorification of the past, don't love it. And like, yes, it'd be great if we could have better information on what our pagan history is, but we don't. And to also assume that religions wouldn't change over time and the gods wouldn't change over time, I don't love either. Again, she kind of mentions it, but you still get that Reconstructionist vibe to it of like, but. Because I'm pretty sure old Christianity and current Christianity are very different. Same with Judaism, I'm sure Hinduism's gone through changes. Like, all of the major religions have gone through changes over the many centuries. Why would our gods not do the exact same thing and change with the times? So anyways, some rambles for that. The next thing that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me was her seasons of celebration thing. It felt weird because where she would put things, I'm just like, why? Like, there was one that she said earlier in the book, because of the myths, would be most associated with like the summer solstice, but then when you get to the summer solstice, that one isn't included at all, and instead it's for a battle. So, okay. But then in the same part of the book earlier, she talked about how like the counterpart would be for the winter solstice, but that one's included. So that was just kind of weird. So yeah, overall, not my favorite. Honestly, I think Stephanie Woodfield writes a lot better, and I had hoped that this would have more on how to actually work with the goddess. But if you just want to know her myths, and if you have a basic understanding of the mythology that she's working within, like that context, you'll probably get something out of this. If you want to sit down and read, like, I mean, if this was supposed to be like a college essay, yeah, that'd be a decent amount of pages and research. And if that's something that you would like, or you're into that kind of reading, you would probably get a lot more out of this. I despise that type of writing, so I didn't love it as much at all, really. I have other books on the Morrigan that I feel like cover the topic way better. But again, I really don't love when authors just very explicitly, you can tell they have a huge bias. I don't love that. And it's not just a bias, but it's like a better than thou attitude about it too that I don't love, and it kind of was traced throughout this book. So anyways, that is my rambly review of this book. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Do make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day, and I do have a Patreon if you want to support me over there and get access to the exclusive content. So patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts, and until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.